We'll begin our regular meeting of the school committee. We'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
None.
We'll have a consideration of the minutes from our January 18th meeting.
Madam Chairperson, they should be included in your packet. Barring that your omission, I would recommend approval as written.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Okay. All right, now we have a chance for public comment for anybody in the public or as well as on the board who'd like to say anything. You can, if you want to state your name and just first, you don't have to stand up. That's fine.
Okay. So my name is David Jankowski. My son is in seventh grade. I is the boys basketball team. My reason for being here tonight is concerns with the coaching of the team this year. There's been lots of things that have happened, I think, over the course of the season that has brought me to this place and I feel like I need to come bring it to you guys' attention. I think that I want to speak from a factual place versus an emotional one. It's just not here. I think that there have been many things with the coaching this year. Unfortunately, I have had a great relationship with Coach Grant. Being here this year has been a little bit different. I'm not sure if anything has changed for that.
Hold on one sec. We can't discuss personnel necessarily in these meetings.
In public session without proper notification to the personnel.
But I don't know, is there a way?
So if you want to talk about coaching in general, absolutely. Otherwise, you'll need to make an appointment, like I'll gladly reach out to you tomorrow or whatever. Or to come, but the way the laws are written, you can't discuss
I
directly.
sent an email to Judy, so I was not there.
Okay, I apologize, I didn't know.
That's fine, yeah. Okay, no, that's perfect. I'll just wait.
Okay, and so if Judy has your contact information, one of us will reach out to you tomorrow, okay?
Thanks so much.
And I apologize.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to come. All right. Anybody else have anything?
I do.
Mhm.
I would like you guys to consider having meetings at town hall for less disruptive to school. They have a much easier system for recording meetings. It's already set up. It's super easy. I think it would be easier for everyone.
Okay.
You can definitely consider that.
It's literally click a button, it's recorded and posted. No one has to set up, no shares need to be moved. Nobody needs to set up after.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Anybody on the board? Anything you want to share? Thank you very much. We'll move on. We don't have any presentations. Old business, we have our draft budget.
So as we discussed last time, we were not able to get it for the last meeting, so you have it for this meeting because you have the budget workshop right after this meeting. So it should be in your packet. If you would like, I will run you through that like we have typically done.
That'd be great.
Everybody on page one, this is draft one, Rankin School budget revenues.
Yeah.
Okay. The top page is always the summary that we go through. So if you look at anticipated, unanticipated balance, state debt service, foundation, and local allocation. Those numbers all come from the ones down below. And so when you start to walk through this, the gross budget comparison, you will see the total budget is an increase of $273,024, 3.58%. The local share of that is $3,860,771, a drop of $31,564 to the town. That means they'd have to come up with $31,000 less to pay for that budget. One of the big reasons why, if you go down to the line below that, is the state subsidy comparison. It's an increase. We received an additional $534,204 from the state this year. That's based on two factors. We talk about every year. That's based on the number of students you have, but then also your valuation. The state average valuation, which is at the bottom, Orrington jumped 1.54%, but the state jumped 5%. And because we were far enough behind that, we received a little bit additional money in distribution. Not to mention that when we went into transportation, if you recall, we also were getting additional revenues for the bus purchases because they're authorized by the state. Okay, now I'm going to switch slides. So before we turn the page, a couple of things just to point out. The drop of 31,000 this year, it was zero the year before, a drop of 31,000 the year before that. Zero the year before, a drop to the town of 184,679. So we are currently local cost to the town $247,000 less than we were 5 years ago. So you know the budget continues to go up based on those other pieces that we're at. Any questions on the front page before we go through the line items? No. So when you get to the very first page, as is usual, we will hit the big swings that you're going to see in there. As we talk about every year, most of this will always be salaries and benefits because that is what a school is primarily. The salary for the nurse, that's an increase of $5,000. That's based on contracts, but also the cost sharing formula between the AOS gets adjusted annually based on the last census. The legal fees, you'll see a $2,000 increase there for the audit. The reason for that is because of the federal money we received last year. That then will require a single line audit where they go through and more fine-tooth comb it because of the amount of money that we receive. To turn the page, our next big one will be on line 78. This is the bus reserve. We have not had that one before. That's an increase of $90,000 because we haven't owned our own buses before. The reason I'm proposing you do that is because you're receiving that in subsidy. So if you manage to do that for 4 years, every year you'll have to reset, based on revenues, what that is. But if you can, you'll have the money in 5 years to pay for brand new buses whenever you need them, and you won't have to ask the community for any. You're actually taking it out of the subsidy. Again, if we get to a year where the revenues drop, then we can reduce that or do whatever we need to do. But the more that you can do that, the more you're planning for down the future and not having to raise that money or borrow that money.
Can I ask a
Absolutely.
what's the average price for one bus?
So last year we purchased it. The buses we got were $92,459. That has gone up because the transportation share asked what that was. That's gone up about $5,700. So it's close to about $100,000 right now, based on the inflation we've seen everywhere.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, what was the reserve you're setting aside?
Buses,
But I mean, not the bus.
90,000. Alan, you'll get a copy of this at the next meeting anyways, if you want it. Other questions? If you go to salaries for pre-K teachers, you'll see the increase of 9,500. That is based on contract steps. It's the same when you go down to line 111 and line 112. You'll see the increase in 111, 112 is a shift in an ed tech. 117 is unemployment. That's new this year. We had to break it out. That's why you'll see no money there last year was in a different line. Turning the page, the next significant one will be line 150. That is the salaries of the ed tech in the library. That is due to a shift to the locals from the federal funds that were funding that. Line 166 is always our big one that we discuss based on tuition. It is down. It is not down as much as we would like. It's down 31,000. However, that's based on the adjustment to the cost of tuition and number of students you have in there. Line 173 and 174, that increase is for the employment of a special ed director, because before I was doing both roles. Line 183 is because the current Tyler technology that program that we use for all of schools is being phased out, and this is the cost of conversion to the latest greatest hits. Line 197, that'll be an additional special education ed tech as well as adjustments. Line 212 and 213 is just a flip-flop because we have to, for monitoring purposes of special ed, we have to make sure we have it down at the high school versus K-8. Line 239 is based on two things: the increase from the last negotiated contract for stipends, as well as the additional pieces that we authorized, like the Dungeons and Dragons Club and a few of the others we have. We currently have a Harry Potter club running. That will bring you to the grand total of the budget being at $7,895,835, that's $1,000, $273,000 increase. Those are your significant impacts. Are there pieces that people would like to go back over, have questions about? Yes.
The only new position I heard was a special ed tech, is that right? Or was there something else in there?
There was a shift on one of the other techs, which was the library media,
Yep.
based on federal funds. And there are two additional special ed techs. However, we've had experience change, so you're not going to quite capture that. But yes, we have not added any positions as teachers or anything else.
Okay, so in terms of additional staff,
Yep,
no teachers,
right.
and how many ed techs?
So you're capturing two in this budget. Those two were funded last year federally, so you had the position.
Yep.
But you're capturing two in this budget.
But in terms of people in the building?
You have two more, but not than last year, two more than 2 years ago.
Okay, great.
Am I making sense? Sorry.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gene, is there a material change? I know we had sent a student or two to the Brewer Community School. Is there a cost associated with that? Because I'm just wondering if that's going to be a thing for next year.
The
New program.
So there is a cost associated with that. It's tuition, so it's captured in our tuition line. We are working on a partnership and seeing if we can't figure out a few things that would make that better, but at this point, it is tuition.
Is it anything material by any means?
No.
What was the cost?
So for a child that is in K-8, well, 7-8, because that's how low it goes, it would be the Brewer Elementary cost, which is less than the high school. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I can get it for you. And then the high school cost would be $9,700.
Okay.
For us, that's not an actual impact if we're in high school, because we'd have to pay that for them to go to the actual high school to begin with. So it just ends up being another program they can access.
I understand. Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe next year or the year
Yeah.
after it might increase.
It might, if we have more and if they grow the program to the point where they can handle more.
That all makes sense.
Yeah, the only other comment I have really is that like the overall increase in the budget of 3.5% is right around where, you know, inflation is maybe even a little bit below inflation, which is to be expected. Everything, you know, that we have to purchase is more expensive.
Skyrocketed, right.
And certainly have to be competitive with salaries. And so our negotiated contract provides step increases and, you know, raises for our staff and administration. So that's,
You take care of it.
yeah. I don't know that, what's good, obviously, is that the state was committed in the last year or two to reach the 55% of total cost of education. So that's helped us also.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can't really, I mean, that's something that has to be acknowledged, I think.
Absolutely.
And if you pull the buses out, the budget, it's 2.3% increase. So it's,
Right.
I mean, the reserve, yeah.
So do we need a recommendation right now?
If you are comfortable with it, I would recommend approval because we have the budget workshop next. However, if there are further questions, certainly I will answer any of them that I can. And probably a few that I can't.
Anybody else have a question?
I'd motion to approve the budget as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business, we have the bill warrants. We have that
Yep.
coming up.
I will admit.
And then we will, do I need to do anything with that right now?
No, nope, you're all good.
Now we can move on to the principal's report.
You said principal.
Yep. Sorry, I'm looking at you, but
Business, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do.
nope. Sorry.
This month, you know, February is supposed to be a short month, but we cram everything in, of course. We've had some very successful basketball games. We went to Glenburn last night for our B girls and they won, so that was amazing. They play again tomorrow, and then our A boys and girls will be playing on Saturday. I think our boys are first place, so that's pretty amazing for them. The standings aren't done yet, but I think that's.
I think
what
they're
gonna do.
tied. They're tied for first.
Well, there might be some negotiating on that, though.
There's gonna be a coin toss, I heard. I heard a coin toss.
Our cheerleaders are getting all set right now because they're heading over to Camden to use their full set of mats in order to do their virtual competition, so they're doing that now. That was all the motion that I had to go them all in because they're all excited about it. So that was me trying to take care of that. Eighth graders have visited both Brewer and Bath, and we're very excited when he came back. All kinds of talk about that, so I'm looking forward to watching them make their decisions. It's kind of fun. And that's that. We've just got a busy month.
Is Hamden also gonna have an open house this year?
Well, Hammond has a setup day. He works right now speaking with the principal because typically they provide a bus for us, but they're not doing that this year.
Oh,
So he was going to look at that, because
Okay.
I think he wants to provide a bus for us. So I'm waiting so that I can make contact with him regarding that.
Yeah, a lot jam-packed into February, huh?
It really is, yes.
All right, thank you. How about our assistant principals?
First of all, there's a mistake in my report. I think my dates were incorrect, of February 5th and February 7th. But the dates are February 7th, which was Monday, and February 9th, which is So other than that, things are going relatively busily. Today, delay was unexpected on my part. It was, I do want to commend the town for allowing this school out very, very well. It's all pretty standing. Things are going great here. Usually the parking lot is quite atrocious some days because of the ice, but this year it's been relatively well maintained. Usually it is, but some years there's not much we can do without snow and ice. But, great job this year. And Brian, I believe he's the one that does it. Just a reminder, I like to put it in my notes if other people read it at home, about the 8th grade applications needing to be filled out in a timely manner. They have them. If they came to the high school information night, they were passed out then to people that were interested. Mrs. Ludden has copies of those if you didn't go, or if people need an extra one. Sometimes they apply to multiple places, so kids are very changeable sometimes, you know that. So, and it all depends on where their friends go. Sometimes that makes an influencing their opinion. So, just a reminder that those need to be taken care of. In the past, they asked for references from 8th grade teachers. I'm not aware if they do that anymore.
Someone to
So sometimes kids are very fearful of asking a teacher for a recommendation, so we should encourage them. You know, they don't wait for them. They're very good, especially the 8th graders. So, and that's about it. Again, it's a busy season. Hopefully, things are going well for kids, and I know the forecast season's coming up fairly soon, and we're doing retesting kids for information to gather for those kinds of things. Not retesting officially, but retesting for small things that not that small, but you know, not the official stuff. We are, you know, assessments or report cards.
Annie next month.
Yes, yes, in many reasons.
How exciting to be able to actually.
Oh, I know. Very exciting. I can't wait. Thank you. All right, next we have the Social Services Director, Mrs. Seymour.
So you should have my report in the packet, and continuing on with that theme of 8th graders in high school, I just wanted to share a little bit with you about that process, just for IEPs. Really important that we place them in the types of classes and have the types of supports that are going to help them have a good start to high school. So we do that through a transition IEP meeting, and we set aside 3 days for those meetings. For many of them, this will be the first time they've been involved in their IEP meeting, and it's a great time for them to be having their own voice heard in what's going to happen for them in high school and what it will look like. And I can't tell you how important that is, that we do make sure we have the right things in place so that they have a good start and get off on the right foot at high school. So next month, I think I'm going to bring you a sample agenda for what one of those meetings looks like, so you have an idea of what that process will consist of. Any questions?
Thank you. Moving on to superintendent's report.
Was submitted as written, we've covered everything except for personnel, which we will do next. Executive session. I would take any questions you have.
No? Okay. Glenn, do you have a report for Brewer High School?
Yes, so there was a meeting last night that I attended, and I don't have a written report because pretty much everything was, just kind of a continuation of what's been previous month's report. Step Up Day has been mentioned, and I did have a chance to meet some of the Center Drive students. That was kind of neat. Every year they have a junior exhibition in prom. That's coming up soon. 2 more social studies teachers put in for retirement last night. So 3 out of the 5 social studies teachers will be gone. So those they posted those new positions on Serving Schools this morning. So if anyone knows a secondary social studies
Over
teacher,
here.
Yeah. Really.
second career, Mr. Munro.
I wasn't
There you
referring
go.
to myself.
Oh.
I'm taking it.
Okay. Well, so if you get bored, math, social studies, you could do it. So Rich Kimball and Tim Thornton, I don't know if you know those names, but they retired, along with Michelle Richens, who I mentioned last month.
Cole will be glad he got to have Mr. Kimball this year then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there were several parents who spoke about maths, and the superintendent provided quite a bit of information about that. And, I think they're kind of in, like us, they were ready to go mask optional in early August, but then had the shift due to the Delta surge. And I think there's a lot of anticipation that the governor and Dr. Shaw and Commissioner Macon will, possibly in the next few weeks or maybe month or 2, change the SOP to make masking optional. And then it would be up to individual school districts. So, hopefully, obviously they'll follow the science and they will look at what's going on in Maine and we already have our levels of instruction in place, and like Brewer, James can shift us from one level to the next based upon what we're seeing. So, but my personal opinion, I think we'll see it sometime this spring. But anything could happen, right?
I know, you don't know what's around the
Another
corner.
variant could come along that evades the vaccines, but things are moving in the right direction. I think everybody, parents, students, staff, most everyone's looking forward to making that personal decision about wearing a mask, but not quite there yet, but we'll see. I think Greg, the Brewer superintendent, there were many days, so if the school wasn't following the mask mandate, there were many days when both schools, the high school and the community school, had to go remote. And the high school hasn't gone remote at all, and the community school, 3 or 4 days, had to go remote. So keeping the students for in-person instruction, with the state kind of guidelines, that's been key.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But so that's pretty much what they talked about last night.
Thanks. Any questions for Gonda? Okay. Thank you for all those reports. We can, maybe individually, just to know what we're looking at.
So I would nominate Bob Phillips for softball coach.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about that? Any motion?
I'll make a motion to accept Robert Phillips as a softball coach.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Nominate Benjamin Walton as the head track coach.
I make a motion to nominate Ben Wong for the head track coach position.
I'll second.
Anyone last?
I would nominate Brian Grant, assistant track coach.
Any questions?
I will nominate Brian Grant as assistant track coach.
I'll second.
All in favor? They've all so we're familiar with them. Will there be baseball team?
I hope so. That's the plan.
So we don't have anyone.
Okay, so moving on to resignations, we have Jeff Small.
So Jeff Small, with regret, special education teacher.
To accept the resignation of Jeff Small with regret.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Okay, so now we have to go to an executive session to discuss an administrative matter. So that means that it's just
We'll
us,
get up
right?
and go,
We're gonna
yep.
go? Okay.
So if he's off, schedule or on.
You leave them on?
Yeah.
I know, I was looking down, they got stripes, we got.
I know.
Yes, we did, we called each other, yeah.
Nice
You're
job,
good.
Michael.
You're doing it with us.
Get the memo.
I'm always with you.
So every week.
Oh, it's really, it's all right. Shuts off the curve. Unless you tell Larry to keep it on. Tell her I love going shower sale. My wife doesn't mind. Yeah. So I never leave it at home, but I used to leave the president first. She's gone. So 3 times a year, they actually leave the shower. Four cans of corn, 5 pounds of potato. Yeah. Oh, I love No, I don't know. Looks like it's a raise off there. Don't, no. I'm supposed to be good. But anyway, she used to make a big ham muffins.
I will absolutely.
Yeah, I think they.
I love this town.
Some sort of green frosting or anything like
Yeah.
that. Maybe. Yeah. I know she's one to cook.
Yes. We are?
Okay, thank you.
Tech lab. That's what we put it. Yeah, good job. Good job. Yeah, pretty good work. Look like somebody's coming in the kitchen. Really? What? This is it. You do? It's Julie. You go?
She went to
Well. Yes, you make Facebook just like I make Facebook. I don't think it was me.
Mr. C.
What? You want to see? So that wasn't today?
Just now.
Joy to me? So probably. At 6.
You did give us
What?
you got to say.
Yes, yes. So, now, the last time you shook my hand, I didn't tell you that, that thing. And, you know, I said, it's just gonna be easy shaking, right? Okay, but, my father had arthritis, so when he shook hands, he always shook hands. His hand hurt. I should have told you, easy now, easy, I broke that last night, you know. Sorry. So we found no way, we got what we have to do, to figure out if that's a thing that's gonna happen. It's a simple matter for us. We just need to put in for the time, if we know there's gonna be a meeting. So it made life a lot easier, for that gentleman right over there. What? I was trying to do it. If we have the meetings down there, it would make it a lot easier.
Yeah, someone has to set up, someone has to clean up.
No, he just said. No.
Exactly, yeah, he doesn't have to set up.
Well, that's what I said. So.
Yeah.
Who's gonna say it?
We have that here.
Some people make all sorts of connections, but sometimes
Yeah.
wired the wrong way.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Roger. And the ETG, they can let it on. I don't have the discussion. Thank you very much.
As it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to do with money, except training.
Yeah.
Where the college on there. Anyway.
Smooth. We got a couple on COVID protocol right now. We scheduled it out though. One's leaving and one's coming back.
Anyone on the waiting list?
Absolutely.
All right. I think you have a nice successful week or two.
Yeah, you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of my life.
Well, it runs on the, we. I say,